So welcome back. Again, as I said, my name's Matt. I'm from Murder He Wrote, and where I talk about solved cases and also unsolved cases, i.e. they're called cold cases, that has not been solved and has been solved. So today I want to speak about the Wembley Park stabbings, which actually turned into murder. And these two beautiful young ladies who perished at the hand of a 19-year-old, her name was Bieber Henry and Nicole Smallman. So let me just give you a bit of background information and tell you about that night, what transpired previous to the murder. So it was Bieber Henry's birthday. She was 46 when she was celebrating over at the country park, or a house where she lived, and had her friends and had a social gathering and had her sister there. Everyone was partying and having a really good time. And obviously they went out into the park and they were dancing and enjoying themselves. And she just was just loving life. You know, she was 46, life was good, and she had a family around her. She was really enjoying herself, and she just wanted to just have a great night. And she done it safely because this was around a time when COVID was really rife. So she did her celebrations as we all did. I had to celebrate 2 birthdays to do with COVID in order to keep it safe and obviously to celebrate safely and within the guidelines. So she did the same thing. And so this is obviously really important to her to have a family around her and also to make sure that she stuck within the COVID rules. So let me speak about her sister, Nicole Smallman. She was 27 years old when she was attacked with her sister. Now, Nicole was a beautiful soul, very outgoing, very caring. Her mum said so many beautiful things about them both. But having a little sister there through this COVID celebrations was equally important to the whole family. And unbeknown what is going to transpire while they were actually celebrating when they decided to go home, or everyone went home. So what happened is that everybody after the party decided to go home and everyone disbanded, and the 2 beautiful ladies were still outside at the country park enjoying themselves with the fairy lights. So they were dancing away, enjoying the birthdays, and in a beautiful night sky. But obviously at that time there was Dal Hussein, 19-year-old satanic worshipper. He denies killing the 2, but he said that he was promised, if he made a sacrifice by killing 6 women each time, he will get the jackpot of the lottery. So I'll go on a bit more about that part later on, but I want to just keep to the program and explain roughly what happened, so we keep an eye on. I would like to also talk about the 2 ladies' mum, who is very influential, and also the link, which I find really interesting, not in a bad way, but I'll come to that a bit later on when I start speaking about Bieber's and Nicole's mother. It was the 6th of June and they were in a fright country park in Wembley, and they were out having a good time, as I mentioned before. Actually, Nicole was actually from North London. She lived in North London, which is in Harrow, and Bieber actually lived in Wembley. So obviously Nicole came over to see her sister and to celebrate with her. And alas, that she never saw her home again after being brutally murdered. Bieber was a social worker for Buckinghamshire Council. And the important thing about what I wanted to mention about their mother, her name's Mina Smallman, and she was a archdeacon, the first archdeacon of colour in the Church of England. So the reason why I'm saying it's kind of significant, because if you look at it, and I'm not saying that the killer knew the mum, but look at the situation. He was doing a satanic killing, and the first black archdeacon in the Church of England, 2 daughters were murdered. There's a weird energy going on there. I just feel there's a bit more to this than me. So I could be wrong, but it just seems a bit, it could be coincidence, but it seems all a bit weird and a bit strange. But when I read that, I thought satanic murder for winning a lottery, and then I saw the mum was an archdeacon, and the first black archdeacon in the Church of England, which I thought was a bit controversial and in some ways kind of different. So let's just talk about the court case and what transpired at the court case. So the court case took place at the Old Bailey in London, which is in Holborn. And they heard how the two sisters and some family and friends were celebrating BB's birthday party, and it was said that she was seen dancing around and, you know, with the fairy lights and enjoying herself with her sister, and she was just having a really good time at the country park. They went on to say as well that they failed to come home and they failed to communicate after the party, after everyone disbanded and went home after a couple of days. They just couldn't. Nobody had any communication with them. Now, if you think about it, you must have been a prolific communicator with people. She seemed to be really social, same as her sister Nicole. They must have been social, and they never heard anything from them. I mean, there was nothing on social media, apart from probably what they uploaded that night. There was no, when people tried to get in touch with them, they just never heard back from the sisters, so they grew concerned, and then they decided to contact the police, as I said a bit earlier. And then it was where they went to search the grounds and search around the parks, and it was a guy called Adam Stone. He was actually Nicole's boyfriend. He who found them two together, and found them that they were entwined in the undergrowth, and also that's when they called the police, and the police came and sealed off the area. So before we move on, I just want to talk about their mother, and Mina, who I think is amazing. And after doing my research, I found out that she said that she has forgiven Hussein for the murder of her two daughters. She believes as well that anyone who could do something like that has got to wrestle with that conscience when they're in prison. So this person's going to have that on their conscience, but she's just going to let that go. Now, I can imagine a lot of people going, what the hell, how the hell could she do that? Remember, she's a deacon in a church which is kind of like, I think, believe one below a bishop. So, and I'm not saying because she's a woman, she's obviously given herself to God. And me having such strong faith, I can really understand where she's coming from. And if it was me and with my kids, I know I would find it hard to forgive anybody for harming my children, let alone it with my daughters being murdered and stabbed repeatedly. And I'll go into that a bit later on. But this is what she had to say. This is a statement that she read out, and I think it's so important and how powerful this woman is, and so amazing I think she is. She says, "No one expects their children to die before them is incomprehensible. If any good comes out of this, at least another 4 women will not meet the same similar end as in the so-called pact with the so-called demon." Amazing. That gets me every time. If that doesn't touch you, you're not human. You know, it is just amazing. And what she must be going through is probably sheer hell. And this is another thing I wanted to record this, because I wanted to send my love out to her and out to the family and friends who have faced this situation. But I just wanted to report this and to just kind of give my tributes as well to these young ladies that were brutally attacked. And again, I have such a strong faith, and many people of you don't know I'm into the paranormal, I'm into the occult, but I'm not. I don't work in the dark. But I just wanted to say that there is no excuse for using the darkness to harm somebody. There is no excuse for it, especially when it comes to self-obsession. So with that in mind, let me just carry on what I'm saying, because I'm really passionate about this and I really wanted to get this done. And a friend of mine was telling me about this story, and I've been following it. But when she told me that she's actually forgiven the killer something just switched on inside me, and I wanted to break away from the routine of videos that I'm doing to kind of record this and just to put it out there. So let's talk about the killer, and he denies he actually committed the crime. But Hussein, who was only 19, let's just speak about him and previously about what he's about. I don't want to draw too much on him, but I just wanted to just kind of tell you his story in a way. But basically, when he was in school, and his school basically reported him to the government's counter-extreme program prevention, and in April 2017, age 15, he was referred to de-radicalization scheme because of the content that he had on school computers. I mean, so there was already a path going there, and you can see that so often this is happening in our schools. Our kids are getting drawn down the wrong path and being misled and being given misinformation and following the dark ways. Look, I was born in Hackney, and I grew up in Hackney. I grew up in the streets of Hackney back in the early 80s and 90s. I know exactly what it's about. So I'm not just talking from someone who's just from some high profile place or from someone in a well-to-do area. I'm a city boy. I was born in East London. You know, I visited quite frequently. So, and for me, it's like we all have a choice. And I just wanted to add this. We all have a choice to be schooled by certain people or not to be schooled, to learn from certain people and not to learn from certain people. And in some way, we all need to take accountability of all of our actions and what we do. And this is just a typical example of taking action, or taking action based upon your views and what you've done. And then for you to tell me, say, I never did it, your blood was found there. Your knife was found there. CCTV has got you buying a knife that is linked to the crime. So now you probably put it to the devil that told him, or the demon should say, the demon that kind of told him to do this crime. But let me carry on and just say about some other parts of what they said in court. So they went on to talk about what happened with the two young ladies who were killed. But first of all, what they did kind of introduce and say is that Hussein had a long interest in mythology, Satanism, and the occult. As I kind of gave that kind of explain exactly what the occult and stuff is about. There's dark and there's light stuff. It's all about which way you go. If you're not into it or you don't know anything about it, there's positive and there's negative. You might as well just say it's like the devil and angels. That's kind of the occult, the battle between light and dark. So let me just explain how, while the trial was going on, they was explaining what happened to the two young ladies. With Bida, she was stabbed 8 times, and Nicole was stabbed 28 times. 28 times. That's just not like that's just mental. That is just absolute crazy, you know. And you know if you've done it, you know if you've done it. And moving on from there, I'm just gonna carry on, just gonna go roll through it. They said his DNA was found there. He cut himself. I mean, he cut himself while he was killing these beautiful young ladies, and his DNA was found there. And ironically, which is so mind-boggling about it all, how they managed to find him or put him, because obviously he disappeared, how they managed to track him down was through his dad. They got the blood DNA, okay? They got the blood DNA, and because his dad had a caution and he was on file, because remember, if you're on the government database and you've got any form of DNA, from saliva to fingerprints to blood or whatever, if it's on the system and then you do wrong or anybody else does wrong in your family, they can trace it back to that member of the family. So say it was me and it was my cousin who done something, and they couldn't find out who it was, and they had his DNA, and they traced it to me. Say if I had a misconception or a situation and I was put on the government system through DNA, they would track it to me and then find him that way or her that way. So it's good because with DNA, you can't avoid it. It is what it is, and you can't talk your way out of that. So that's exactly how they managed to track him down and find him. Okay, the police are now at the address and find Hussein's home, you know, gone through the dad, what I mentioned earlier, and they've gone into his bedroom, and you never guess what they found. They found 3 lottery tickets, and they were folded up with a letter, and the letter was signed his name in blood. Let me say that again. They found 3 lotto tickets, yeah? 3 lottery tickets, folded up with a letter, and the letter I'll put up here. And which was the strange thing about it, it was signed in blood. So part of for the occult, what you do is you use your blood as a sealant, a seal, a promise, kind of like you're giving your soul to the actual demon, which is just crazy. So the other thing I wanted to go on and say, this is even more fucked up than what I just mentioned, or even more crazy than what I mentioned. He promised to sacrifice 6 women every 6 months. Every 6 months, he was going to sacrifice 6 women in exchange to winning the mega lottery jackpot, which is just crazy. Let me say that again. He promised to kill 6 women every 6 months in order to win the lottery. Now remember, he killed these 2 young ladies, you know, Bida and Nicole, and he done a lottery and he didn't win. Okay, so what they do, they'll keep getting to you, keep killing, we will give you work, keep killing, and you keep doing that. But 6 people, that's 1 a month, he was going to kill until he won the lottery. So we don't know how long this would have lasted. This could have lasted years. We could have had over 20 to 30 females murdered in order to satisfy his beliefs or his understanding. But I'll go a bit more into that a bit later on, but because as it unfolds, it is kind of interesting what stuff is there, and for you guys to see exactly everything compiled into this video from what I've researched and what I found. The other thing I want to just add there as well is that 10 days after the killing, as I said, he went to go and do the lottery thinking he's gonna win, but he didn't, obviously. And then ironically, he turned around and spent £160 on lottery tickets, and he still didn't win. And I'm not going to say what the demon's name, because I don't want to give that demon that power. So I'm not going to put the picture up either. But this demon, I'm not even going to just talk about it, but it's up to you if you want to look at it. I don't believe in giving them the power. The other thing is, well, he used the demon, trying to use the demon to get someone to fall in love with him. That didn't happen. And then, ironically, he was found, as I mentioned, a CCTV. He was spotted buying knives at Asda, kitchen knives at Asda, which was used in the attack and killing of Bibi and Nicole. So now they're in questioning, the police are questioning him, and he comes out and tells the police he's got Asperger's and he's got bad memory loss. So he refuses to answer any questions, and the police are getting obviously frustrated. And so what's going to happen now is on the 22nd of September is going to be the sentencing and the rest of it. But what I wanted to just say is, like, what's your views on this? You know, this came at a time roughly in lockdown, just after the death of George Floyd as well. And then that young lady that died at the hand of the policeman, which is just recently appeared, and I'm going to do a video on that as well, because I find it really fascinating that how people think they can get away with doing these crimes under thinking that they're going to be safe because whatever they're in, and then try and pin blame on everybody else. But I just wanted to just say, what's your views on it? What do you feel? I mean, for me, it is just crazy. 2 beautiful lives has gone. A mother's without her 2 daughters, and partners are out with 2 love of their lives. And, you know, my heart goes out to the family. And if you guys see this, please for me and for my team, our heart goes out to you, and obviously my prayers are with you guys, and my prayers with your two beautiful kids in heaven. But you know, stay safe, and I'll see you on the next video. But I just wanted to just record this, so this is really important and really dear to me. But I'll see you in the next video. And the important thing is, stay safe and you look after yourself.